On February 26, 1987, President Ronald Reagan declared Proclamation 5613, which made March National Disabilities Awareness Month. The proclamation called for people to provide understanding, encouragement, and opportunities to people with disabilities to help them lead fulfilling and full lives. Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month is a nationwide event that raises awareness for inclusion of people with developmental disabilities into all aspects of community and the barriers that people with disabilities face. For a condition to be considered developmental, the symptoms of the condition must be manifested in childhood years. In celebration of Women's History Month and Disability Awareness Month, let's talk about some women with disabilities who have accomplished amazing things.
She said, I want you to read every book in this room. And I found poetry, and I loved it.
Maya Angelou was an award-winning poet, author, civil rights activist, college professor, and screenwriter. Most recognized for her literary works, Angelou was and remains among the most influential women of her time. Angelou had selective mutism, an anxiety disorder that causes a child to not speak due to physical or psychological trauma they endured. In the 5-year span that she experienced this, her listening, observing, and memorizing skills improved, and her love of books expanded. Claudia Gordon is recognized as one of former President Barack Obama's key advisors for disability issues. She was also the first female deaf African-American lawyer to graduate law school and pursue a career devoted to helping individuals with disabilities. Judy Heumann is an internationally recognized disability advocate. She served in the Clinton and Obama administration and was a senior fellow at the Ford Foundation. Rest in peace, she died this month. There is also Jillian Mercado. As a child, she was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. It does seem like the world is no match for the actress and fashion model who landed her first modeling gig in 2014 with Diesel and took runway at New York Fashion Week.
And she will sit atop the standings in a wave of the hand and a punch of the air, and Sarah Story knows a 5-minute advantage right now. She screams with delight as she crosses the line, and surely another gold medal for this superstar of Paralympic sport.
Sarah Story was born in Manchester without a functioning left hand after her arm became entangled in the umbilical cord in the womb, and her hand didn't develop as normal. She is a multiple gold medal winner at the Paralympic Games in both cycling and swimming. Her total of 14 gold medals makes her the most successful female British Paralympian of all time. Dr. Temple Grandin is an American academic best known for giving the world a unique insight into how the autistic mind works. Her books have helped tear down the stigma around autism by helping others to better understand how people with autism see the world. Some other famous women with disabilities are Billie Eilish, with personality disorders and physical tics, Marilyn Monroe, with Asperger's, Whoopi Goldberg, with dyslexia, Greta Thunberg, with autism and selective mutism, and Daryl Hannah from Splash and Kill Bill, with autism.
Overall, even though these women have disabilities, they don't let these disabilities stop them from accomplishing their goals. They can teach us a valuable lesson about perseverance and inspire us to work towards our goals.
American football has long been a male-dominated sport, but did you know that women have been playing it for over a century? From early exhibition games to the formation of women's leagues and teams, women have been pushing the boundaries and breaking barriers in the sport they love. We'll explore the rich and often untold history of women's American football from its earliest days to the present, and the incredible athlete who paved the way for future generations. The first recorded instance of women playing American football was in 1926 when a team from Hackettstown, New Jersey played a game against a team from Sparta, New Jersey. In the 1930s, women's football teams began to emerge across the United States, often playing the exhibition games during the halftime of men's games. Patricia Palinkas is often considered the first woman to play professional American football. In 1970, she signed with the Orlando Panthers of the Continental Football League. Palinkas' football career was not without struggles. She faced discrimination and harassment both on and off the field, and she was often the target of sexist comments from coaches and players.
Right now, I'm nervous and excited and honored that I'm the first woman to play pro football. like making my debut.
The player rushing Mrs. Palinkas is Bridgeport linebacker Wally Florence, 235 pounds. He told reporters later, "I wanted to break her neck. She's out here making folly with a man's game."
During her brief time with the Panthers, she was not given a locker room and had to change her clothes in the bathroom. She passed away in 2001, but her legacy as a pioneer for women's football lives on. In 2018, following the years after her death, she was inducted into the American Football Association's Semi-Pro Football Hall of Fame. Patricia Palinkas was signed nearly 53 years ago at age 27. Now 16-year-old Caitlin Soroka is the second female player of the Brookwood High School varsity football team. We have her here today, and she's going to provide us with some insight on her experience as a female kicker.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Soroka, the female kicker for the football team.
We have a few questions for you. Is it okay if we go through them right now? What does it feel like to be the second woman on the varsity football team at Brookwood? And are there any pressures or expectations that you feel like you have to uphold?
Honestly, it's something I never really thought I'd do before. Like, going into it really was kind of like a spur of the moment. As for like expectations and stuff, I feel like I'm just expected to work just as hard as everyone else. And the pressures, honestly, just the same pressures a normal kicker would have.
What is one of the biggest challenges you've had to face being the only girl on the team currently?
Honestly, one of the biggest challenges is probably just like the assumption that I'm really not legit or just kind of going out there to kick just to kick, and that just motivates me to work harder.
Do you feel like this team has supported you as a woman and accommodated you in various ways, such as locker rooms and uniforms? And
I do have my own locker room. The uniforms, they fit great. Love wearing our colors. And honestly, they have been super supportive. I love this team and all they've done for me.
Amazing. Okay, so a few last questions. Does your physique as a woman provide any advantages or disadvantages to a typically male-dominated sport?
For disadvantages, it definitely is harder for me to gain as much muscle mass, but for the advantages, I feel I am very accurate with what I do, so it kind of balances each other out.
How has your overall experience been being a part of the Brookwood varsity football team, and do you feel supported by them?
I feel very supported by my team. It has been such a great experience for me. Again, for being something I thought I'd never do, it has been one of my favorite decisions ever.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming here today. We loved hearing about your feedback, and we're so glad that we're able to have female in sports at this school. Thank you. Wow, it's so amazing to see how the support for females in male-dominated sports has grown over time, and it's incredibly exciting to see what the future has in store for females in sports.
205 years ago, the genre of science fiction as we know was created by Mary Shelley's publication of Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus, on January 1st, 1818.
Mary Shelley was born to Mary Wollstonecraft and William Godwin in 1797. Both of her parents were celebrated writers and philosophers, with Wollstonecraft being a feminist and a large proponent of women's rights, and Godwin being credited as one of the first anarchists. With these circumstances, it only made sense that Shelley would be one to break the mold. One summer in 1816, Shelley, her husband, and Lord Byron held a ghost story writing competition in Geneva, and what Shelley came up with was Frankenstein. It would go on to create one of the most popular literary genres to this day, and that ghost story remains a cornerstone of entertainment.
Shelley's first novel contained much more than the green-scarred monster, with its bolts sticking out of his neck portrayed by movies and pop culture. While the famous 1931 movie depicts a slow-moving, lumbering zombie, and a mad scientist character portrayed by Angry Frankenstein, in the novel, both him and his creation shows to be quiet, intelligent, and sympathetic in their own ways. And their conflict illustrates the conundrums that both sides experience as a consequence of creating life. Shelley created a monster, but not by some supernatural force, but science. Science came up with during the time period of galvanism. The belief that within living objects, there's an electricity that's animating them. The originality and inspiration behind the book cannot be understated, as well as Mary Shelley's skills as a writer. But since the genre of science fiction was created by a woman, why are there so few women in the industry today? Well, since the Hugo Awards in session in 1953, 18 women have been awarded for the best science fiction novel. Also, since the Nebula Awards in 1965, 14 women have been awarded best science fiction novel. Representation in entertainment, both literature and film, is extremely important. You might be interested in looking into the works of the 9 women out of the 39 Grand Masters of Science Fiction, like Nalo Hopkinson and Ursula K. Le Guin. The full list is right here. Supporting women in literature can help to bring up some strong writers everywhere, no matter what their origins. Women's representation in literature has been growing in the past few decades, but there are still too few women in the industry today. We cannot forget the entire genre and all of its impact the world has caused by a woman in 1816 who decided to write a ghost story and change the course of history.
She just wants to be beautiful, she goes unnoticed, she knows no limits, she craves attention, she praises an image she prays to be sculpted by the sculptor.
The beauty standard, a term so hard to define because of its subjectivity. The entire concept holds a different meaning depending on social and cultural circumstances. Throughout history, women have been subject to infrequent ideals of what physical beauty should look like, no matter how unreasonable. These standards range from specific body types, facial features, and skin tones. Let's talk about the media, for example. Often, the fashion industry will use models and celebrities to promote what the paragon of beauty is supposed to look like. Young women and teens are the target audience for advertisement that cause feelings of inadequacy and insecurity. This harms their self-esteem and can lead to excessive dieting or want for cosmetic surgery. According to a study by the American Psychological Association, 90% of people with eating disorders are women, and there's no question that the media has contributed to this fact. Acknowledging that beauty standards are socially constructed and constantly changing is critical.
Can you describe the beauty standard in one word?
I would say that the beauty standards are restrictive.
Ridiculous. I believe the beauty standards are ridiculous.
Unfair. I'd say stereotypical.
Unrealistic.
I would say one word to describe it is inconsistent.
Start defining beauty by representing all body types, skin tones, and culture, not with standards that pressure women into altering their own appearance or changing the parts of them that truly make them special. Define beauty simply as self-love.
What is something that you like about yourself?
I love my relaxed style. It's all about being comfortable.
I'd say probably my eyes or my style.
My smile, because I'm always happy at the school, and I love my children, and I love you guys.
I like my height, my eyes, and then my confidence.
Can you say something that you love about yourself?
I love my eyes. I think that they are warm and inviting, and my students often say that.
I think I'm starting to like my face more, because like a long time I struggled with actually liking the way I look. Like in middle school, I would not even like look at myself in the mirror like lots of times. So I'm trying to like be more open with like looking at myself and liking myself, or like my teeth or like my eyes and the shape of my nose. Like okay.
Did you really think we'd go to the whole St. Patrick's Day show without talking about St. Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland who died around 400 AD? In 1631, the church made a holiday which had like a whole feast and some parties and stuff around his honor on March 17th every single year. But it is Women's History Month, so meet Lillian Bland. She was born on September 28, 1876 in Kent, England. She came from a long line of Irish descent which dated back to about 1670. When she was young, her and her family moved back to Northern Ireland, and she would always go to Carmody Hill and take pictures of the birds flying over her head. She was what you would picture an early 1900s woman would look like. She dressed in breeches, smoked cigarettes, tampered with car engines, hunted, fished, and took part in shooting activities. By 1908, she established herself as a sports writer and photographer for the London newspapers. She started taking more pictures of seagulls flying over her head at Carmody Hill when her uncle sent her a picture of the first plane to make the flight between Europe and Great Britain. This made her very interested in the art of flying. She attended the first official aviation meeting in Blackpool in 1909. She took very detailed notes of the measurements and dimensions of all the aircraft they had on display, and she got to work building her own. She started with a biplane glider that she flew as a kite. When this succeeded, she kept innovating. She added a slight curvature to the tip of the wing and made a solution which made Calico waterproof, and it was ready. Many doubted its ability to fly, and to troll them, she called it Mayfly. She tested it and estimated that it can fly with about 5 people on it. When it was time to go, the Mayfly performed, flew about 30 feet above ground for about a quarter of a mile. And when this happened, she wrote to Flight magazine with the words, "I have flown." She kept experimenting and kept innovating her flights. Eventually, she opened a business where you could buy an airplane for about 250 euros. Around this time, her dad gifted her a Model T Ford, which she learned how to drive by herself and became the first Ford agent in Ireland. She kept innovating and kept improving her flights until she died at the age of 92. Lillian Bland embodies grit and determination. She never let anything deter her from getting to her goal. And because of this, she'll not only go down in women's history, but world history.